Okay, welcome everyone. Let's get right into the charts. Thank you everyone for giving me a thumbs up on the last video. I do appreciate that. The last couple videos I've gotten over 500. So I've been thinking about doing a live session where it's going to just be a subscriber pick session, but ultimately I'd go on and we'll just users can submit, subscribers can submit their comments asking me to review specific charts. And I'll just do that live, maybe spend an hour going through various charts and giving you my thoughts on those stock picks. So I'm thinking about doing that. I'll probably schedule something. Let me know if you guys like that. Give me a thumbs up or leave a comment if you're interested in that. All right, let's get into the charts. All right, triple Qs. We fell to my level of about 297. I said basically anywhere from 300 down to 297. Being kind of where I would expect a bounce. Why do I expect a bounce? Well, that's because you can see back here, this is the level, 290, it's about 298. This was a little bit of an overshoot, but see this breakdown candle? All right, that was where the reaction took place. So it was resistance here, came back up, held as resistance, came back up, held as resistance. So 3 reactions around that level. And then finally, when it broke above, you hit it as support and it held again. So we have 4 total reactions. That's enough for a verified support level. The more the better, but preferably more than 2 is usually is best. So we have 4. And so sure enough, came back down and you can see we fell. We pretty much hit it right at the tick. It looks like we hit 297.40. And we bounced off of that. So what I did is I covered my triple Q short right at that level, and I actually flipped long. I'm not sure how I'm going to end the day today, so I'll probably, we'll see where this closes. If it wants, if it bounces, and it could bounce all the way up to this 311 area, that's probably a good area to potentially short. One thing to note though, and if we're going to get some sort of a good size bounce, we could bounce all the way up to this 329 area and fill this gap that has not been filled. I don't know if that's, I don't think that's probable right now, but it is possible. So, it gets trickier once you start having a trade work out in your favor. It gets a little trickier to figure out how far the trade's going to go and where it's going to bounce. We bounce at support, but how far does it run? That becomes tricky. So what I typically do is I analyze the trend, which right now is down. We're continuing to correct. I look at the resistance level. So about 311 was some resistance. So I would probably reshort there. Or if you're long, you could cover there, close your long. And then if it bounces, I'd probably wait and reshort all the way up here at 329 or add to the short. So that's a potential. Otherwise, look for a break of this 297, an impulsive breakdown. That might come in the form of a gap on Monday, or it might, just sell off, continue selling off today. Who knows? If we break 297, I think we're heading straight down to about 283, 284. And where's that level come from? Well, that is on the weekly chart, that is the trend line or the bull market price channel for the triple Qs since 2009. All right, so this is the decade, 12-year bull market. We overshot to the upside, pretty much Fed induced. And now we're starting, to me, this looks like a blow off top, and now we're starting to come down. Look at that weekly breakdown. That's about as good as it gets when it comes to a weekly sell signal, because you had the weekly sell signal right here, and we're getting follow through or confirmation. So again, from the bigger picture, I think Qs is going a lot lower. All right, I think Qs is heading down all the way down here to 240, 250 or so. But doesn't mean we're not going to have some big bounces along the way. And you would expect those. You're going to get big moves to the upside as it continues to trend down. That's the slope of hope. So just continue to keep an eye out for that. Right now, 297, 298. Really, the low tick of today should be major support. So look for that. to break, and that will mean there's more selling coming. So most of the selling has been in tech, and it just has not bled over into the SPY that much. I mean, if you look at the SPY here, let me go to the hourly. You can see, yes, we are starting to break down, but it's definitely not nearly what the selling in tech has been. And from the all-time highs, SPY's only down, 5%, 4.5% as of right now. Not that much of a drop. So what I would look for is continued, if I'd look for the selling, if it's going to continue, look for it to start to bleed over into the SPY, into the small caps. Well, it's already in the small caps, but look for it to bleed over into energy and financials. Those are the two that have been pretty strong. So those, I think, would be your signal. Look for breaks in those. And that will most likely mean that SPY's ready to make its move to the downside. Levels to watch. Well, SPY's not as clean as Q's. I would say there's some support right here at 362.08. And just slightly below that, just slightly below that at about 356, 357, right in here. All right, so right in there. And if you mark out the trend line, you can see it's basically, it's right there. You can see all the 4 reactions that we had. Now, it's not the cleanest trend line because you can kind of adjust it slightly down. Actually, I probably should just adjust it slightly down. We'll say it's right there, about 248.50. All right, so I think that's I think that's where SPY's heading. 250 or 350 area in relatively short order. Okay, IWM fell. It hasn't quite got to support, but support's right around 205.55. So I think we're likely going to get a reaction there. This might be the reaction here. They might have stepped in a little early because the Qs hit support and we hit that target that I was talking about. And, maybe we get a little bounce here. And ultimately, I still think we're going lower down to this area of about 193.50 or so. You can see that comes off the March lows, the 2020 lows, several reactions along that trend line. So this is the area that I think IWM's heading. And it'll probably get a bounce down there. All right, one thing to keep an eye on is the dollar. Here's the DXY. Look what happened today. We ran up. I've got this resistance level at 92, and we basically ran right up to it, spiked a little bit above it, and we're still holding. That's acting as resistance. So 92 is resistance. That's a big level. So I don't expect the dollar just to break right through that level today. If the dollar breaks higher from here, you're going to look for a lot more selling. Start to look for more selling in the SPY as well, such as those international like CAT and any stock, multinational stocks that sell to other countries. A strong dollar is bad for them, and it's also going to just be bad for the market in general. If we break above 92, I'm not so sure we're going to be honest, but if we do, then I would think we're probably heading. I think we're probably heading straight up to 96, and that's going to be on a big move down in the market. All right. So watch the dollar. We shouldn't go over 96, about 97. This trend line that comes off the 2011 trend in the dollar. You can see all through here had lots of reactions there, and we've never really back tested that trend line. We broke down, but we've never back tested. So that might be in the cards, a full back test, kind of a collapse in stocks. And, another swift move down in stocks, let's say another 10% or so, and SPY starting to sell off. And we back test, and I think that would probably be it for the upside in the dollar. So I'd be looking to, short the dollar in various ways up around here if it was to get up there. So here's XLF, no breakdown yet, no sell signal. So XLF and energy, XLE, have both been just really resilient. So again, I think this will break, and I think SPY is going to go down and do some selling. But, we got to just wait for the sell signal of this trend line here on the daily. If we break, XLF's likely heading down to about $30 in the short term. And that would be a drop from here to down there, about 10%. So we'll watch for that. You know, I don't expect XLF to continue higher if, you know, if the market continues to sell and if tech continues to sell. So just look for the breakdown. We don't have it yet, but I think it's coming. Let's look at these fangs. These are important. So Apple, you know, Apple hit support. You got support here at 118.45, 118.50. I don't think this is going to break today. We'll probably get a bounce up to this 125.50 again. So this is kind of the range to look for in Apple. You know, ultimately, I think Apple's going lower. I just don't know if it's going to go lower, you know, today. So something to look for on that. Microsoft still hanging in there. You know, the buyers are here. They're trying to keep it above this area of 227.84. So if that can hold, then that's going to be bullish for, you know, for Microsoft, and probably the fangs will follow. A break below that, and that means we had a false breakout or a bull trap in Microsoft. I suspect they're going to keep everyone guessing. They'll probably close Microsoft right here at 227.88. That's just my guess. Amazon's at support here at it's at 2930. We undercut it a little bit, but you can see the buyers are there stepping in, buying it up. It's at major support. So I would expect Amazon to hold and probably get some sort of a bounce. And that's why I think Q's is probably going to bounce as well. Amazon, though, look at the level that Amazon's at. This is the head and shoulders pattern. It's a complex head and shoulders pattern. So you got the shoulder, the head, and then a series of kind of three shoulders or two shoulders, whatever you want to say. And here the neckline is right where we're at right now. So that is the support level. It should hold today. Usually you're not going to fall right to it from such a big drop and then just cut right through it. Likely we're going to get a bounce and then kind of roll over and just, we're going to likely contend with this area for a while, bouncing off this though initially and then coming back down. And then if it's going to break, it'll probably break with like a gap down and a big sell-off. And that likely will signal the top of the fangs. I don't see Amazon breaking down and the market not continuing to break down. So something to look for there is really just that level, 2927, you know, right where we're at basically right now. Google's still hanging out in its area. It has not really broken down. So Microsoft and Google still kind of hanging out. They still have some major supports to break. Amazon's at support, Apple's at support. All the fangs, most of the fangs are at support. That's why I think you're likely going to get a bounce in triple Qs here. And here's energy just hanging tough. It's just really strong. Everybody's running out of tech and plowing into energy and the financials. So that's what's going on right now. That's why the SPY hasn't really broken down. Now, if the SPY does break down more, energy is going to break too. So keep an eye on that. Right now, I just got this trend line. XLE's been walking up on the daily. And I don't see, yes, we have negative divergence right now. It's not confirmed because everything's still pointed up. So I would just wait for a break of the trend line. As of right now, I see no reason to short this thing. It still looks constructive. Okay, now I'll just run through some of these high-flying, crazy non-profitable stocks that everybody was buying last year, and these are the stock. This is where the mania is in a lot of these crazy stocks. These are the stock everybody I know has been buying them, and most likely they're all panicking right now. I'm going to just run through these. So TAN supports right here at 78.24. We're kind of right in the middle of the range of 90, it's about 98 and then 78, 75 area. So middle of the range, we could bounce here up to the top of the range. I still think this thing's going lower, so I'm just holding this. Even if it bounces, that's okay. Let it, it's a sell the rip market, remember? So when you get the rips, I look at areas of resistance to add to shorts or to reestablish shorts right? So that's what I see. I think TAN's heading down to 58.21. All right, let's move on. All right, pins. Yeah, pins broke. Here's your support right there at on pins at 69.03. It broke that. I suspect it's going to close below that as well. And so we're getting a little bounce today, but I think it'll probably stop below there. And pins is likely going down to about 50 bucks. All right. So that's what pins looks like. Nike, at support right there at 131. You can see that's where it held before. It's there again. Likely going to hold that today. But I think that'll break eventually and head down to 117.20. There's the 200 days here too, so it'll probably get a reaction off that 200 day. Redfin hit my support. This is the trend line I had marked out on the daily. We ran right down to it. I covered my short on Redfin right there. Again, I cover at support levels, and I look to re-add if I think there's going to be more downside. I'll re-add at resistance or after a good size bounce. We bounced. Where did they close this thing? I don't know. They could very easily close it right here at support. I don't think it's going to break the support. So you have to kind of make a decision on what you think is going to happen next week. Because I'm short this thing from way up here, this trade for me was a trade of about 30% in just a matter of a couple days. So, I'll probably go home flat over the weekend on this one. PayPal hit support right here at 225.66. It is bouncing, obviously, because the market's bouncing. So tech is bouncing. I'm still short this one. I'm going to remain short because this one just broke down. Here's the March 2020 lows, held support all through here, held support through here, did an overshoot, which was a bull trap, and now it's broke all the way down to the bottom of the bearish rising wedge. So that tells me that we're just getting started in this move. I think there's more downside in PayPal, heading down to 176.24 and possibly down here to 130, this 129, 130, somewhere right in there. Because see the gap right there? So we could come down and fill that gap. PayPal, to me, looks like it's just getting started. Yeah, we're bouncing today. And we could bounce up and back test the broken trend line. I'll likely add to my short trade up there if we want to do that. But I don't think this is going to recover this trend line today. It's likely going to remain as a broken pattern, and that means more downside in the near future. Chewy. All right, so here's the support line on Chewy right there on the daily, and we just barely broke it, but you can see they're recovering it, so that's likely going to hold as support. That would be a good time to take profit if you are short that, and then wait for a break of the trend line. You want to see the next breakdown in order to re-short this thing. Otherwise, it could bounce. Etsy. All right, so I'm still short Etsy. I'm going to remain short on Etsy. Etsy, to me, is also just kind of getting started. Etsy didn't sell off quite as much from the high or the breakdown. It sold off 19%. But the thing is that I think there's more on this one. It held. Here's the support line at 197.30. You can see we came down, hit that, bounced, back tested that broken trend line, and then came down again. And we've broken it now. They're making it look like they're going to recover. I don't think they will. Because it already hit it and it held. Now that it's broken down to it, I think it's likely we're going to close below this level and continue the downside next week. Support at 167.30. That's your next level of support that I'll be watching for on Etsy. Peloton hit support yesterday and the 200-day right there. I covered that position, and I'm not back in this one. So this one had a nice, 40% drop or so from the entry. About 37% drop. That's a good trade in my book. I'll likely move on to some other ones that are just starting to break down. But it could break, and if it breaks, this 98.39 area, 98.40, then next level of support is $80, about $80. Otherwise, we're likely going to get a bounce here, maybe up to 117 or 118 or 125.75, somewhere right in there. Okay, NVDA. So NVDA broke its support line. You can see here on the daily, clear breakdown there. It ran right to the 200A, and this is where the buyers are likely going to be at. They're buying NVIDIA here. Likely going to get a bounce here. The bounce could be a back test of the broken trend line. That's very possible. This could even be the bottom for NVIDIA in the near term. All I know is I wouldn't want to be shorting right here, all right? I would rather short at a back test of this trend line if I could get it. DraftKings, all right, so DraftKings I think is going lower. The reason why I'm still shorting DraftKings, we basically hit that former support right there at 55.36, undercut it a little, bounced and recovered. So I don't think they'll probably break that today, but I think DraftKings is heading all the way down here to this 44.30 area. The reason why I think we're doing that is because we had this right up here, that false breakout. That was a bull trap, false breakout, and it was also a divergent high. See the negative divergence right there? And that has now, failed. So that tells me we're heading all the way down here, and I'm going to remain short on that one. I like it. Looks good to me. Okay, Carvana. All right, so here's this bearish rising wedge that Carvana's been trading in for months and months, really going back to August of 2020, and we are just starting to break to the downside. That's a sell signal right now on Carvana. Unless they can recover that today, then that would be a sell signal. That tells me that Carvana is going likely at least down to this 173.87 area, possibly down here to this 124 area. I'm not so sure about that one, but I think at least minimum target would be about this 175 area. The 200 days here, we're likely going to get a reaction on that, but I do think we come down to that 175 area because that's a gap. See the gap right here? This big gap was never filled. They came down and made it look like they were going to fill it right here, but they didn't. They stepped in and bought it. So now if this is going to be a real sell signal, then we're likely going to come down and fill that gap. And that would be, from where we're at, a drop of about 30% or so. So I like it. I like Carvana if you get that sell signal and that daily close impulsively below this trend line. You don't want to see it just right below it. You want to see it, kind of where we're at here or potentially lower on the daily close. Qualcomm kind of flirting with the support level right here at 129.50. That's that big gap. See the gap? So I think it's likely we're going to get a bounce here. They undercut it, but they're starting to recover that. So the buyers are in here, buying. And I think Qualcomm bounces here probably up to the top of the gap at 141.80 or 90. And then likely that's probably the area where, you see the drop off, where you could reshort the thing. Okay, Zillow Group. So you can see, here's your support. See how you undercut it? And then we recovered that support, 132.60. So I think we're likely going to get a bounce here on Zillow, probably up to this 156.75 area. Possibly even a full back test of the broken trend line. If you're short, this is a good spot to cover, I believe, and probably, game a bounce or look to re-enter maybe back at some resistance levels. Neo's breaking down, and Neo, it came close to the 200 day at about $30, and we're seeing somewhat of a bounce, but we've broken this level here at 40, and so we've entered this really thin zone. See this thin zone where it just traded straight up? There wasn't a lot of trading. A thin zone is when you just shoot right up through an area. Like up, you can see up here, lots of trading, lots of back and forth, consolidation up here. This was a thin zone where it just ramped higher. So now we're back in that thin zone. So we have broken into that. So I do believe we're going to fill this gap all the way down here at 22.24. We're bouncing a little bit right now. We could bounce up to, this $40, retest that. Look for a daily close below that $40 area. You get that, I think it's very likely that Neo continues lower down to this 2204 area. Okay, Tesla hit the area where it should find support. So what I'd be looking for is does it close the day above 606 or let's say 607, or does it close the day below that? The lower that it closes the day below that, the more that I believe Tesla is going to continue lower. Next level of support I think is right here at 465.30, and the 200 days right down there too. So I think it is very likely that we head down there. I'm still short Tesla. Okay, the trade desk. So that one hit the 200-day. It actually undercut it by quite a bit. Fell all the way down here to 560 and then has since bounced and recovered back above the 200 days. So the buyers are here. This is where they're trying to fight. This is where the buyers are trying to bounce. I think it will get a bounce probably back up to this 737, 36 area. And then that would be the area I'd be looking to probably reshort this thing. This thing just collapsed. I mean, in the last 4 days, from here all the way down to the very low, it fell 32%, almost 33% in 4 days. So again, that wiped out gains going all the way back. I mean, at the low today, it wiped out gains going all the way back to October of last year. So you've got months and months of gains that were knocked out in 4 days. All right, that's how the downside works. Welcome to the bear raid. However, I think we're likely going to get a bounce here. AMD, I'm still short AMD. I feel like this one's just getting started. Here's your breakdown from here's your 2016 trend line. Just kind of walking up that reaction. Lots of reactions on support. And we are just breaking that. Yesterday we broke it below the 200-day. Today we're down a little bit more. We actually fell right down to what I thought would be support of about 73.67. If you want to be conservative, you can wait for a break of that. All right, if we break that and you get a close below that, I think we're heading straight down to $59. However, if they are able to rally it into the close today and get it back above this 80.50 area, then this is a false breakdown. So something to watch for. I would cover if we recover the support and get that close back above that support. I'll cover my short. That's my trade idea on that one. Same with apps. So apps, I think, is a good short as well because it's just starting to break. Here's your March 2020 lows. You've got lots of reactions along that. You can see we broke. Today we're getting the sell signal. So look for the daily close and confirming that breakdown. The closer you can get down to the 65.20, 65.30 area on the daily close, the better this sell signal looks. So you get the close down there or near there, I think we're going to head much lower in apps. Likely going to run straight down to the 200-day, which is down here at about 36.60 or so. Get a bounce, but next level of support I actually see down here at this 28.50. And if we break that, we'll probably get a bounce there, but if we break that, there's a gap all the way down here at 16.43. So that is kind of the final target potential. I don't know if we'll get down there, but there is that gap that hasn't been filled. So it is possible. And look at GDX. I'm not going to go into all the miners, but GDX is hanging in there. So again, I like this area to go long GDX. It is holding support at this 31, 33 area. Where's that support come? Like I said in the video yesterday, I thought we were going to kind of chop around here and kind of consolidate. They're going to kind of mess with you in this area, mess with your mind, and they're not going to let you think you're right to go long. They're going to, gap it down or kind of get these little plunges down. But that level is major support right there. You can see that we held this support, or this was resistance back for 2013, like 6 years or so. It was major resistance. We then broke above here, back tested, held as support, confirming that was support, broke above, and then we came all the way down, and we've been just right there at that support area. So that's, I do like it. And we'll wrap here with TLT. You can see we're just kind of hanging in this area still. So they keep, kind of spiking it down. This is the area of support for TLT, is right here at just slightly above. But again, we're just in that area of where the buyer should be at. If they don't show up and TLT continues to sell off, look for interest rates obviously will continue to rise and the markets will continue to sell off. So that's basically about as simple as this market is just interest rates rising will cause markets to go down. So you just keep an eye on TLT. I think that's important. to watch that behavior there. So that's all I got, guys. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you guys find value. And if you're interested in learning how to do this and learning how to read charts, take my course. Link is in the description below. Catch you guys on the next one.